drive, with your energy, and yes, with your financial gifts for the restoration, the ongoing restoration of this magnificent temple to the Lord. And I congratulate and I thank all of you. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and give thanks. Cardinal Egan, might I ask you, I think you have the actual decree from the Holy Father in Latin. If you would read that to this great assembly this evening, I think it would mean a lot to us.
Before I do, I think I should explain that slam dunk in Latin is exitus facilimus. I'm honored and delighted to read it, and our good Archbishop told me to read it in Latin, and then he said I was translated into English. I asked him last night if he checked my English, and he said he did, and he found it passing. Neo Evoracensis, instante excellentissimo, ac reverendissimo nomino Timotheo Michaeli Domen, Archiepiscopo Neo Evoracensis, Liges, die secundum, mensis Martii annus millesimo decimus datis, preces et vota cleriatque Christi fidelium expromente, congregatio de culto divino et disciplina sacramentorum, rigore facultatum filiarium nassumo pontifice Benedicto XVI tributarum, ecclesiam collegialum Deo in honorum Sancti Patrici Episcopi, novi Evoraci dictatum, olum Cathedralis Ecclesiae Amplitudine Honestata, titulo et dignitate Basilicae Minoris, omnibus cumulibus, atque liturgicis confessionibus rite competentibus per libenter exponent. Servantes, vero servantes, iuxte decrete titulo Basilicae Minoris, die nomensis novembris anno, non millesimo non centesimo octogesimo nono evocatum. Contrarius quibus minibe obstantibus, ex edibus congregationis de culto divino et disciplina sacramentorum die, decimus mensis Martii annus millesimo decimo memoria iustem Sancti Patrici Episcopi. Antonius Cardinal Canizales Vera, Prefectus, Josephus Augustinus de Noia, Ordinis Predicatorum, Archiepiscopus a Secretis. I hope it sounded right, Archbishop. Here's how I think they meant to say it. New York. At the request of His Excellency, the Most Reverend Timothy Michael Dolan, Archbishop of New York, who made known the petitions and desires of clergy and religious alike, in a letter dated March 2nd, 2010, the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments, in virtue of faculties granted to it by the Supreme Pontiff, Pope Benedict XVI, most willingly bestows the title and dignity of a minor basilica with all appropriate rights and liturgical concessions to the parish church dedicated to St. Patrick Bishop in New York, at one time adorned with the eminent title of Cathedral. Having observed all that is required in the decree de titulo Basilicae Minoris issued on November 9, 1989. All things to the contrary notwithstanding, from the office of the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments, on March 17, 2010, the feast of St. Patrick Bishop Anthony Cardinal Canizales Vera, Prefect Joseph Augustin de Noia, OP, Archbishop and Secretary. Bravo. just want to add one little word about a great man who had a lot to do with this wonderful cathedral and now Basilica. Several years ago, when we began talking about repairing the old St. Patrick's Cathedral, as we said then, we had a number of meetings of the trustees, and one man stood out, Mr. John L. Dowling, was the head of the committee and insisted that we restore the exterior of this cathedral exactly as it was 200 years ago. John was here frequently, and he was truly a hero in seeing to it that the trustees and the Archdiocese and everyone made the exterior of this cathedral a treasure for the Archdiocese for many, many years to come. His dear wife, Hebe, and his 3 children, Megan, John, and Peter, should know that today, as we celebrated the wonder of the Basilica of St. Patrick's, we remembered the trustees who saw to the restoration of the exterior, and Mr. John Dowling, who led that and is no longer with us. He has gone to the Lord now, and I think he's opening up an umbrella in heaven and saying, this is what I wanted all along. John, we love you and we thank you.
The blessing of the particular insignia of this basilica. Our help is in the name of the Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you. Lord God of glory, your church here on earth joins the choirs and angels and saints in heaven in giving you thanks and praise. As we gather this Advent day to worship you in wonder and awe, may the songs on our lips echo the music that swells in our hearts. O Lord, bless this umilino, a symbol of Pope Benedict XVI's affection for this noble church. And bless these tintinnabula, symbols of the glad sound that accompanies our praise of God. O Lord, may this sacred basilica always be a home and shelter for all your sons and daughters, from our Holy Father in Rome to the most needy and smallest among us. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Come, Lord Jesus.
Lord Jesus, in the mystery of your incarnation, you revealed your glory to the world. Give us new life by your coming.
主耶稣，快来吧！
You have taken our weakness upon yourself. Grant us your mercy.
Ven, Señor Jesús.
You redeemed the world from sin by your first coming in humility. Free us from all guilt when you come again in glory.
Our basilica symbols, our magnificent umbrella, and our bells. And I asked, after I explained all this, I said to them, well, do you now know what a basilica is? And the young lady was sitting there, looked down at her cappuccino and said, well, I guess it's like having a church that has whipped cream and cinnamon on top. And I thought that was as good an explanation for a basilica that I've heard yet. Listening to Cardinal Egan and Archbishop Dolan, we've become smarter about what a basilica is. From a pastor's point of view, it's another name for a family gathering place. This noble church has been and always will be a place to gather in order for people to transform their lives from the ordinary to the extraordinary, and through prayer and hard work to make their dreams into reality. If these walls could talk, they would tell of struggle, injustice, poverty, prejudice, but they'd also tell you about success, close community, family, good times. And our family here at St. Patrick's Old Cathedral the Basilica of St. Patrick's Old Cathedral, is like no family that ever was. We were, and still are, a parish located at the crossroads of success. In the past, this place is where decisions were made to either be defeated by opposition and negativity, or to move forward to new ground, meeting the challenges of the world with the same courage and creativity that has always brought greatness to the church. Just look at people like St. Elizabeth Ann Seton and the Sisters of Charity, Archbishop John Hughes, Pierre Toussaint, Sister Patrick, and Monsignor Marinacci, who celebrated his 100th birthday yesterday. Our standards of worship must be the best, living up to the mandate to love God with all we've got. You know, the old school across the street closed, but we're opening the next chapter in religious education in ways that face up to the demographics of the world around us. With special attention to families and to young adults, we are already finding ways to express our faith through the arts, culture, music, in ways that will make others outside these walls feel comfortable here, inviting them into the circle of our parish's next chapter as we march into our 3rd century as a parish. The landmark cemetery walls that surround our church were built 170 years ago to keep out people who wanted to destroy the church. We are repairing them, as well as the other historic buildings here, as symbols of hospitality and connections to the community around us. They're not to keep people out those walls out there. They're rather to invite people in. Your Excellency, Your Eminence, when the Pope comes next to New York, we hope he'll stop by his special church here, his Basilica, and we will surely order him up a cappuccino with whipped cream and some. all the people who contributed to this celebration do not need to be thanked, but rather their lives give thanks themselves because of what this church did for them and the blessings that they've received, all the more they want to express during this season of preparation for Christ's birth. On behalf of the priests who have served you here and will serve you, Father Andrew Ty, Monsignor John Ahern, Father Jonathan Morris, on behalf of our tireless, dedicated staff, our volunteers, the parish council, all the parishioners, past and present, we invite you to continue our thanks by inviting you to join us at a reception at the Youth Center on Mulberry Street, around the corner, immediately following the liturgy. And the food is brought to you by Danino, a premier restaurant down on Mulberry Street. We are nothing. We are nothing if we are not God's family. We were the Cathedral Church, then we became the Old Cathedral, and now we're the Basilica. But we'll always be best described as God's house, a place for his sons and daughters to continue at their very best, doing the very best they can to act out God's tremendous love. God bless our Holy Father, Pope Benedict. God bless our Archdiocese. God bless the Basilica of St. Patrick's.